Today, I'm going to share with you 10 books that could literally change your freight broker business forever. I know that's a strong statement, but what I want you to understand is that every single one of the books that I'm going to share with you today, if implemented, the teachings from these books could put 6 or 7 figures in your hip national bank, right in your pocket. If you read, understand, and implement, you have to execute, right? Knowledge is potential power, right? Putting that knowledge to work and taking action, that's the real power. So I'm going to give you the first half, right? Which is the books I recommend. You're going to have to do the rest. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments as I introduce these. If you've read any of these books, heard of any of these books, or you think it's something that you would want to invest in. Okay, number 1 on the list. Some of these books you probably will never heard of. A couple of you may have. Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick synopsis here, okay? Raving Fans, your customers are only satisfied because their expectations are so low and because no one else is doing better. Just having satisfied customers is not good enough anymore. If you really want a booming business, you have to create raving fans. That's what this book is all about. How to create raving fans. It's a very small book. It's put in the form of more like a fiction book. You definitely want to check this out. I've had this book for years and it has been on the top of my mind every time somebody asks me about a book that they need to read and they're in business. It's Raving Fans. This is one of the top 10. So number 2 is a book called How to Get a Meeting with Anyone by my very good friend, Stu Heinecke. Stu and I have been friends for years now. We were actually in a mastermind together for several years. Great guy, super sharp. He is the godfather of what's called contact marketing, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a quick preview into this. It says, in How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, Heinecke explains how you can use your creative contact campaigns to get those critical conversations. He divulges methods he's developed after years of experience from studying the secrets of others who've had similar breakthrough results that other marketers consider impossible, with response rates as high as 100%. Through real-life success story, Heinecke lays out 20 categories of contact campaigns anyone can research and execute. Now, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone will literally give you examples and teach you the fundamentals and the framework of how to get a meeting with anyone. And if you're in sales, if you're a freight broker or a freight agent, you definitely could use this. All right, number 3, this is more of a mindset book. It is called Success Through Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone. Okay, so this is a book. This book has been around forever. And this was actually a gift given to me years and years ago when I first started in business in the early 90s. Now, this book really is amazing. There's not a preface, but I'm going to actually scroll through. You can see that I've got this book all marked up, right? I've got tons of things. So I'm just going to randomly turn to a page and I'm going to pull up something that I highlighted. Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. I mean, these are just examples of things that I've actually highlighted. And this is an incredibly powerful book. Most people probably have never even heard of, right? But what I want you to understand is this: having the right mindset is always overlooked when it comes to starting and growing a successful business. If you read this book, if you implement and you learn and you digest and you consume this book, good things can happen. All right. I promise you. Number 4 is a book that you've probably never heard of. It's called Profit First. It's one of the newer books. I probably bought this book, 4 or 5 years ago. I met Michalowicz. I actually interviewed him for my other podcast. Profit First. It says, transform your business from a cash eating monster into a money making machine. And Profit First is that fundamental of how you need as a business owner to take profit first. And it's an entire system on how to manage your money as an individual, but in particular as a business owner. So this is like a basic financial management tool on how to manage your finances. It's really simple to understand. It kind of goes back to that methodology on how my mother and my grandparents used to save money. They'd have these different envelopes and they would put, hey, here's the Christmas club envelope, and here's the car envelope, and here's the vacation envelope. And it takes that kind of principle and it applies it to business. It's a very powerful book. Not only did I read the book, but I implemented this entire system in my own business. So this is the exact system that I use to run my business today. It's called Profit First by Michalowicz. Check it out. All right, a classic. You may not have read it. You may not have heard of it. It's called The 1 Minute Manager, okay? This, again, is another Ken Blanchard book, okay? The world's most popular management method, okay? What they do is this. In The 1 Minute Manager is a concise, easily read story that reveals 3 very practical secrets: the 1 minute goals, the 1 minute praising, and the 1 minute reprimands. This is like a playbook on how to manage your business, how to manage people effectively, right? Managing people in business is one of the hardest things to learn, right? It doesn't come intuitively. It's a real short book. You can see it's real simple. It's real short. It's more of a fiction type format. Again, Ken Blanchard uses, even in that other book I shared with you, Raving Fans. Definitely check this out, The 1 Minute Manager. I know it's an oldie, but it's a goldie. And these concepts are not out of favor, okay? Check it out. All right. Here's a book you can see is dog-eared all over the place. I've got tons of dog ears in here. It's called Neuromarketing: Understanding the Buy Buttons in Your Customer's Brain by Renvoise and Christoph Morin. Okay, I got this book, I don't know, it's probably 10 or 15 years ago. I was running my brokerage. The whole thing about this book is this: the latest breakthroughs in brain research suggest that people make emotional decisions which they later rationalize. Increasing your success in sales and marketing means triggering the true decision-making part of the brain, the old brain. And it goes through the distinct parts of your brain. It goes into how to tap into that old brain. This is an incredible book. Matter of fact, this is something that's on my list to reread this year. I probably haven't read this in a few years, so definitely check out this book, Neuromarketing by Renvoise. All right. You may have heard me mention this book before. It's called The Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer. Okay. Gitomer, Jeffrey Gitomer. Now, Jeffrey I've had this book for about 20 years. He was a sales mentor of mine from afar. I read all of his books. I followed all of his content. I followed his teachings. Big believer in Jeffrey. And I was fortunate enough a few years ago to actually meet him. I interviewed him for my podcast, and I was actually on his podcast. So he invited me onto his podcast. We had a great interview. It was an amazing experience. Got to meet him. It came full circle. And it is the perfect title for this book. I'm going to leave it at that. Check it out, The Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer. Number 8 is Scaling Up by Verne Harnish. Okay. Now, this is a book for companies that have already went through the startup phase and are already through that early stage of their business, but are looking to scale their business. All right. It goes over 4 core areas of your business. It talks about scaling up people. It talks about scaling up strategy. It talked about scaling up execution, and it talks about scaling up cash, right? So those 4 elements, those 4 buckets are fundamentals and are the core principles behind scaling any business, okay? So this is a great book. You definitely want to check this out. All right. And I would be remiss without one of my favorite books of all times. Very simple book. You've probably heard me mention it before. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. What can I tell you about this book? This book is like a playbook on how to develop and enhance and maintain strong relationships and develop strong relationships in business and in life. This is an incredibly powerful book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The title says it all. I have given out literally hundreds of copies of this book over the years to friends, people that I've hired, some of my followers on YouTube and different social platforms. And number 10, drum roll please. Number 10, you may or may not have heard of, and it's called Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuck. It really validated a lot of the things that were going on in my mind as technology really started to change the landscape for marketing. He put this book out several years ago, but it's still very relevant. It's how to tell your story in a noisy social world, okay? One of the comments, one of the things in here in the inside cover is communications is still key, but context matters more than ever. It's not just about developing high quality content. It's also about developing high quality content that perfectly adapts to the specific social media platforms and mobile devices. It's about truly engaging with customers, not by shouting at them over social media, but by using narrative forms, particularly to each different platform. And then he lists all the different platforms. So listen, this is an amazing book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's a philosophy that I've had for many, many years when I developed my LinkedIn and social selling program. Some of you have probably heard of my No Cold Calling for Freight Brokers program. This was some of the fundamentals of how I built that program. This was huge validation for me and helped even for me to enhance that program after reading this book. So I highly recommend Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuck. So those are the top 10 books that could literally change your freight broker business forever. And listen, I highly recommend you get those. I don't care if you get the physical book or the audio book, whatever you do, just get one of these books and start taking action and start reading it today. Okay, so go to Amazon, check it out. All right, listen, for those of you that are curious about becoming a freight broker like I was back in 2003, and you don't have a clue what the hell it's all about, and you can't connect the dots, I have put together an entire system A to Z called Freight Broker Bootcamp. We've trained over 10,000 students. Okay, we've been in business well over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. You can check that out. You can also, if you go to that page, you'll get the opportunity to get a free download, which is the 7 steps to become a freight broker. It's a free download. It costs you absolutely nothing. You can check that out before you actually enroll in Freight Broker Bootcamp. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Listen, one last thing. If you're still here listening to this, that means you're definitely looking for some help or guidance. Here's what I recommend. If you are looking for help with how to get customers, how to get shippers as a freight broker, and you would like me to be your freight broker sales coach and mentor, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get on my wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. It's about to open up very, very soon. I'll put a URL up on the screen. It's freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. The only way you can enroll in that program is through the wait list. It sells out every single time, and I promise you it's going to sell out again. So make sure you get on that wait list because I'm going to be opening up enrollment very, very soon. That's where it's a 5-week coaching program where I take that piece of my brain and I transplant it into your head, all about freight broker sales, my best strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system on how I did over $200 million as a freight broker. Check that out. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week on the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.